When people describe a great place, they usually begin with what they can see. They may talk about the architecture, the landscape, the restaurants, the public spaces, the transit connections, or the amenities that made the place memorable. Those things certainly matter, but when I think about places that have stayed with me, I rarely remember them as a collection of features. What I remember is how the place allowed life to happen. I remember a conversation that lasted longer than expected, because the setting invited us to stay. I remember arriving somewhere unfamiliar and somehow knowing where to go. I remember a public space that felt active without feeling crowded, or a garden path that made walking feel like part of the experience rather than simply a way to reach the next destination. Those memories suggest that the most meaningful thing about a place may not be the physical place itself. It may be what the place makes possible. That observation leads to a different way of beginning a building project. Instead of starting only with the buildings we want to construct, the systems we want to install, or the amenities we want to offer, we might start by asking what people should be able to experience because the place exists. To explore those questions, I would like to introduce you to Canvas Commons. Canvas Commons is fictional. It is a thought exercise that gives us a place where architecture, landscape, technology, culture, governance, operations, trust, and stewardship might work together. Imagine that we are standing together on a residential terrace overlooking Canvas Commons early in the morning. From here, we can see much of the district at once. Homes frame the foreground, while workplaces, hospitality, cultural spaces, gardens, and public gathering areas extend beyond them. At the center is the Commons. Nearby, the grocery market supports daily life. The gathering house supports meals and events. And the gallery and sculpture garden bring culture into the district's ordinary experience. Viewed individually, each place has a recognizable function. What makes Canvas Commons interesting is what happens between those functions. A resident can walk from home to the market. Someone arriving by train can move through the Commons toward the hotel. A conference guest may discover the sculpture garden during a break. The design is not only about placing buildings on a site, it is about creating relationships among daily life, movement, culture, landscape, hospitality, work, and community. People do not experience a district as a site plan. They experience it as a series of journeys. Let us follow a few of those journeys. A resident leaves home, passes through the Commons, visits the market, notices activity at the gathering house, encounters a neighbor near the gardens, and later returns home through the sculpture garden. For that person, Canvas Commons is a neighborhood whose parts support ordinary life. A conference visitor arriving at Transit Plaza needs to find the hotel, the meeting, public areas, and a place for a meal. If the journey is well designed, wayfinding, access, lighting, landscape, digital information, hospitality, and transportation simply makes sense. A gallery visitor experiences another version of the district. The journey may begin at Transit Plaza, continue through the Commons, and reach the gallery and sculpture garden. The visitor may stop for coffee, have a meal, or remain in the landscape after the exhibition. The physical district remains the same, but the purpose of each journey changes. A journey may cross architecture, landscape, transit, hospitality, technology, security, public space, and operations. The person simply knows whether the experience worked. When we look at images of Canvas Commons, the visible elements are easy to identify. The outcomes those places are intended to support are much harder to photograph. Belonging is not a building. Comfort is not an HVAC system. Trust is not an access control device. Buildings, systems, practices, technology, people, and care may contribute to outcomes, but none guarantees the result by itself. The gathering house can provide an opportunity for belonging, but programming, welcome, access, affordability, and continuing care will shape what happens. The gallery can create opportunities for cultural engagement, but culture also requires participation, interpretation, access, programming, and conservation. The commons can create opportunities for connection, but a plaza does not become a community simply because people can walk through it. These things are means rather than ends. A place exists to make experiences possible, and those experiences help create outcomes people value. Perhaps the best way to understand the promise of Canvas Commons is to imagine an ordinary day. The market prepares to open, transit brings people in, residents move through the public realm, and hotel guests begin their journeys. By midday, the Commons is a crossroads. As evening arrives, workplace activity recedes while the gathering house, restaurants, terraces, and public spaces become more active. What is notable about this imagined day is how unremarkable it feels. Canvas Commons becomes meaningful through ordinary routines: walking home with groceries, meeting someone for a meal, finding a quiet place outside, arriving confidently for an appointment, or encountering culture without planning an entire day around it. Successful places make complicated things feel simple. When lighting, water, access, maintenance, hospitality, transportation, and technology work together, the systems fade into the background and ordinary life takes their place. Trust is part of ordinary experience. A resident expects private residential areas to remain private. A hotel guest expects appropriate access to guest spaces. A gallery visitor expects public cultural spaces to feel open. A conservator may require access to protected collections and controls. A facilities technician may need service corridors and underground stewardship areas. All are using the same district, but it would not be appropriate for everyone to have the same access or information. People experience trust when a place behaves in ways they can understand. Privacy is respected. Access is appropriate. Services remain reliable. Information is handled responsibly. Public spaces feel public, while private and protected areas remain protected. Trust should be considered from the beginning rather than added after architecture, systems, contracts, and vendor relationships are fixed. Trust is not only a security feature, it is one of the ways people decide whether a place deserves their confidence. Canvas Commons depends on resources that are easy to take for granted when they work. Water, energy, air, soil, planting, materials, and infrastructure support daily life. Rain gardens, bioswales, planted channels, storage, and reuse can form a connected landscape system that also contributes to habitat, shade, beauty, education, and public space. Energy decisions shape the district indirectly. Building orientation, shading, roof-integrated solar green roofs, efficient systems, battery storage, and thoughtful operations can reduce resource use while supporting comfort and continuity. Environmental performance is not secured when construction ends. A rain garden must be maintained. A green roof must be cared for. Energy performance must be observed. Environmental stewardship is part of how Canvas Commons fulfills its purpose. In future episodes, we are going to spend a great deal of time discussing how places are cared for over time. We will explore operations, governance, technology, security, documentation, accountability, and stewardship. Before we do that, it is worth remembering why those disciplines matter. People preserve information because a future operator may need it to protect something valuable. They manage technology, landscape, access, and vendors because those systems support experiences people care about. Canvas Commons matters because of the lives that unfold here. It matters to residents, neighbors, visitors, and the people who gather for meals, meetings, performances, celebrations, and private conversations. It also matters to the people whose work is often invisible: operators, technicians, gardeners, conservators, hospitality teams, service providers, and community partners. The place matters because people matter. That is the promise we are trying to protect. At this point, Canvas Commons appears to have fulfilled that promise. Buildings are complete, landscape is established, cultural and daily life places are open, transit is connected, residents have moved in, and public spaces are active. Delivering the district would represent years of work, difficult decisions, financial commitment, professional expertise, and coordinated effort. The danger is not in celebrating opening day. The danger is believing that opening day proves everything the district was created to accomplish. A completion checklist can confirm buildings delivered, systems commissioned, contracts completed, and spaces opened. It cannot yet prove belonging, comfort, trust, environmental continuity, or long-term value. Opening day tells us Canvas Commons is ready to begin. The years that follow will reveal whether the promise can endure. Every building changes after it opens. Designers move on. Operators, vendors, residents, tenants, and community leaders change. Technology is updated, replaced, integrated, or left behind. Policies evolve, budgets move, and landscape matures. None of this means anyone failed. Change is simply the normal condition of a living place. The real challenge is whether Canvas Commons can adapt without losing sight of why it exists. Can belonging, comfort, environmental commitments, operational knowledge, and trust survive change? Those questions reveal a second Canvas Commons beneath the one most people see. Facilities, teams, operators, security professionals, technology specialists, vendors, community partners, and future stewards determine whether visible experience remains possible. The question is whether Canvas Commons can continue behaving well. The promise of Canvas Commons is not ultimately a story about architecture, technology, landscape, culture, hospitality, or operations by themselves. It is a story about what becomes possible when those things work together in support of a shared purpose. Canvas Commons exists for the people who live here, work here, visit here, gather here, create here, and care for this place. A building does not behave well simply because its systems are connected or because its design was celebrated on opening day. A building behaves well when people, information, decisions, and responsibilities continue supporting the outcomes it was created to provide. Before we can understand how that promise is protected, we need to understand how the promise becomes a project. How do many disciplines translate an idea into coordinated decisions while preserving purpose? That is where we go next. Every great place begins with an idea, but ideas become real only when people accept responsibility for turning them into decisions. Canvas Commons will require many forms of expertise. Each discipline will see the project differently and bring legitimate priorities, obligations, and constraints. The challenge is not simply bringing those disciplines together. The challenge is keeping them aligned around what Canvas Commons is expected to accomplish. In the next episode, we will step behind the dream and begin designing the vision. Next time, Designing the Vision.